On the left, a rusted mechanism violently struggling to complete a single rotation. On the right, a perfectly calibrated system spinning effortlessly. This is exactly what earning money looks like. Making your first $10,000 feels like an uphill battle, dragging against the friction of life. Yet for the wealthy, adding another $100,000 to their net worth happens smoothly, almost automatically. Most people assume the difference is purely mathematical, that if they just had a higher salary, the struggle would disappear. But earning more money doesn't solve the problem. The true challenge is psychological. Your mind operates on a set of financial habits, a type of mental software. If that software is flawed, a sudden spike in income won't build lasting wealth. It simply allows you to buy more expensive liabilities, keeping you trapped in the same cycle of spending. This flow diagram shows what happens when we isolate that psychology. Let's trace the financial path of two individuals. They earn the exact same income, starting right here at the top node. But the figure on the red path operates as the emotional default, while the figure on the green path acts as the logical architect. Over time, one of these minds will repel money, and the other will attract it. The divergence isn't caused by luck. It is the result of a few automated, logical habits. The moment payday arrives, the emotional earner follows a predictable routine. They pay their housing and utility bills first. Then they treat themselves to a few luxuries, a nice dinner out, new clothes. Finally, they rely on willpower to save whatever cash happens to be left over at the end of the month. Now watch the exact same payday run through the logical architect system. Here, the income drops into the funnel, but the very first action is different. 20% is immediately sliced off and diverted into an expanding investment vault, leaving only the remainder to flow down into the monthly expenses pool. The money in that vault is now inaccessible for daily spending. By executing this transfer instantly, the logical earner removes the emotional friction of trying to save. The lower expense pool physically shrinks, and their daily lifestyle is forced to adapt to the remaining 80%. That reduced pool limits what they can spend on status symbols. Meanwhile, the emotional earner takes leftover cash and finances a brand new luxury car, believing the visible price tag is a signal of true wealth. To the logical architect, that car is a depreciating liability that steals future cash. Instead, they funnel their savings into assets. They buy index funds, invest in real estate, or digital business equity, things that put money back into their pocket. This cyclical chart illustrates their ultimate spending rule. The core asset sits safely in the center, perfectly intact. It generates a steady stream of new cash flow, and only that secondary cash is allowed to drop into the luxury bucket. The asset buys the car, not the initial paycheck. By prioritizing cash-flowing systems over depreciating status symbols, you build a machine that eventually funds your lifestyle for you. Maintaining that machine requires treating your personal household finances with the same rigor as a corporate business. The logical architect does this through a monthly wealth audit. This radar chart represents a monthly expense profile. Those jagged red spikes are financial leaks, forgotten subscriptions, lifestyle inflation, or hidden fees. During the audit, the earner tracks their net worth, maps their cash flow, and smooths those spikes inward until their spending is optimized. But money is only one half of the equation. The wealthy view time as their most precious resource. Dollars can be earned and multiplied. The hours in your day cannot. This creates a mathematical rule for outsourcing. If your time is worth $50 an hour, spending 2 hours doing a task you could delegate for $15 an hour is a poor trade. You are trading expensive hours for cheap dollars. Guarding your calendar allows you to stop trading irreplaceable time for replaceable money. You can redirect your mental energy toward high-leverage activities, like learning a new skill or analyzing investments that actually move the needle. Of course, even the best systems face external shocks. Imagine a market crash hitting the portfolios of both of our earners simultaneously. It acts exactly like this storm wave slamming against a rigid seawall. The emotional earner watches the red arrows on the news and feels a deep panic known as loss aversion. Overwhelmed by the volatility, they sell their investments, locking in their losses. The logical architect stares at the exact same crash and sees a clearance sale. Because they have detached their emotions from the headlines, they buy more assets at a lower price. Volatility is the toll you pay for long-term compounding growth. Separating your financial logic from the instinct of fear is the only way to stay the course. But relying on willpower during a crash is difficult, so the logical mind installs an environmental safeguard: proximity. The logical earner intentionally builds a social network of driven individuals. They insulate themselves from the panic of the herd by surrounding themselves with people whose normal behavior is logical investing. If your 5 closest friends are panicking, their fear will likely affect your decisions. Your internal discipline during a crisis is reinforced by the logic of your immediate social circle. Let's jump forward exactly 10 years. We can now observe the compounding results of these 2 distinct psychological frameworks playing out over thousands of daily decisions. The emotional earner is still trapped. Despite years of salary increases, they remain in a high-stress cycle of survival, trading their time to maintain the expensive lifestyle they financed a decade ago. Now look at the logical architect's outcome. The red path of the emotional default loops in a flat circle, but the green path curves upward, expanding into an exponential growth curve. They have reached a point where the growth of their assets now outpaces their personal expenses, generating income in the background of their life. The person on the green path didn't rely on luck or superhuman willpower. They engineered a system and allowed it to run. While you cannot control the market or the broader economy, you can control the architecture of your response to them. You can choose to move away from motivation-based saving toward a system-based approach. Start by setting up one automated transfer to your investment account for your next payday, or block off 30 minutes this Sunday to conduct your first monthly wealth audit. Wealth is rarely a stroke of luck. It is the consequence of an automated system that removes emotion from the equation.